He's been called the father of modern public relations.
So Gillette has a product.
Here comes the plug, friend.
Here comes the plug.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, what?
That's yours.
The media tour concept was originated 40 years ago by Daniel J. Edelman. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Edelman Public Relations.
And I really don't think of myself as a founding father, but if people say that, that's fine.
The son of a modest Brooklyn childhood who grew up to become a global titan.
My father was a classic entrepreneur, but he had to work like a dog in order to make this happen.
Building an industry based on the power of his ideas and words.
I thought it was a crusade.
We're the #1 firm in Chicago, the #1 firm in New York.
We were working together for something, for all of us, for the family.
Building a family that would sustain him both at home and at work.
Dan the businessman.
Works all day as hard as he can.
Building a business with ethics and integrity that has stood the test of time.
My dad always used to tell me that there are 3 legs to the stool. There's your work life, there's your body and exercise, and the third part is your family, your community, and your spiritual life.
Tonight, Daniel J. Edelman celebrates 90 years of hard work, lasting health, and a thoroughly fulfilling life.
Happy birthday, Grandpa Dan!
The year? 1920. The Charleston is tearing up the dance floors. Valentino is blazing across the silver screen. And the first live radio broadcast heralds the election of Warren Harding. But in Brooklyn, really big news. The Dodgers make it to the World Series, and Daniel J. Edelman is born on July 3rd. You might say communications was in his blood. He penned his first danograms when he was barely out of diapers.
My dad loved to write and report, and when he was 5, he had the mumps.
And he was quarantined at his house, but then he started writing a newspaper column.
And he would write what was happening and give reports and then slip them under the door.
Just a few years later, Dan, along with his sisters Elaine and Harriet, and older brothers Morton and Albert, moved to Manhattan's Upper West Side. Fascinated by this new life, Dan began, well, what else? Reporting on it.
At an early age, he was clearly intrigued by the newspaper idea, the great interest in stories and getting them out. And I see him typing the newspaper.
Reading and writing were paramount in the Edelman home. Dan's father, Selig, was a lawyer and a Talmudic scholar with little time for one of Dan's great loves, sports.
I guess all my grandfather wanted was to be taken to a baseball game. So he'd be like, Dad, take me to a baseball game, take me to a baseball game. So he takes little Grandpa Dan to the baseball game, and he sits there with the newspaper the entire time, and my grandfather's, cheering on his team.
It wasn't all books, though. Dan's mother, Selma, was a concert pianist.
Music has always been an important part of his being.
Amanda plays the piano, and I guess his mom was a very good pianist, so every time Amanda sits down and plays the piano, he'll talk about how it's so important to be good at music, and that's very important to him.
Young Dan was discovering the passion that would inform his life: hard work. Crisscrossing the city each day on 3 different subways to get to DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx, he polished his homework and edited a sports column for the school newspaper. He skipped grades easily and graduated early, just 15 years old.
I just think he was just driven generally to be the best he could be in whatever he did.
Determined to be a journalist, Dan entered Columbia University in the fall of 1936 at 16. He was active in student government, wrote for the Columbia Spectator, and was elected president of the Zeta Beta Tau fraternity, where he met and mentored fellow Brooklynite and soon-to-be legendary Chicago Bears quarterback Sid Luckman.
Dan Edelman had a lot to do with my success at Columbia University. Dan was always at my side, guiding me, helping me, helping me study, get good working habits, maybe wash the dishes in the fraternity house so I could have my meal. But Dan was always there as a dear friend. I love Dan Edelman.
Dan graduated Phi Beta Kappa and continued on to Columbia's journalism school.
We're here at Columbia University's Graduate School of Journalism, where my dad trained to be a professional journalist from 1940 to 1941. And here is the Daniel J. Edelman Plaza, which he donated as a place for students to come together.
His first job, sports writer for the Poughkeepsie Eagle News.
That always impressed me that Dad went to a small town, upstate newspaper, and worked as a real reporter. He dealt with it as if he were at the highest rung on the New York Times.
In 1942, he was drafted into the U.S. Army. He worked in psychological warfare, analyzing German propaganda for General Omar Bradley, and there caught the attention of General William Paley, CBS founder and chairman. Once out of uniform, Paley rewarded him with a job at CBS Radio in New York, writing for personalities like Arthur Godfrey.
Well, I still have my CBS card, and I'm very proud of it.
After a brief stint promoting music artists like Duke Ellington and Sarah Vaughan, he accepted a job with a radio sponsor to promote Tony, a home permanent treatment.
From NBC News, this is Today.
We were representing the Tony Company, and they had the campaign, Which Twin Has a Tony, which just swept the country. Everybody was talking about it, and I said, why don't we take these twins on the road and let America see them in person?
On Dan's advice, Tony hired 6 sets of twins to travel to 75 cities across the country where people would guess which twin had the Tony.
At the first stop of the first tour, the twins were put on television in Tulsa and they were arrested.
They said we were practicing cosmetology without a license, which really wasn't true.
A heinous crime. The call came in to the president of the Tony Company, and he was panicking. He rushed into my office, what are we going to do? And he got word, and I said, wonderful, we'll let the AP know. And the AP ran a story.
Always
Tony
thinking
twins,
like an ad man.
PR guy. Tony twins arrested in Oklahoma, ran in newspapers all over the country, and I loved it.
It's quite an awesome start.
The media tour and the modern era of public relations was born.
We realized that you can do things through the media without buying space.
After 3 years with Tony, Dan decided to go into business for himself.
I resigned and said that I'm going into my own business, and the CEO threw me out.
But the Tony Company immediately had second thoughts and not only set Dan up in an office, but became his first client.
And I was off to the races.